Welcome. Welcome. Good evening, Yin and Yang. We are back up again. Let's see. Let's just make sure we don't have a little bit of a technical glitch. What will we say?
Yes, I'll say yes, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Good
And
evening, everyone.
oh, yeah. And we just had a nice little time just right now. We kind of found out how many people don't have a sense of humor anymore because of social media.
Well, good grief, yes. I mean, I put a quote on Facebook just a little while ago, and it was from the TV show Wednesday Addams. It's a brand new thing now, and I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, she made some disparaging comment about social media, which I quoted. And if anybody who knows me knows that I'm on Facebook and Instagram pretty regularly, you know, and I just thought it was funny. And there was some on there who was taking it a little bit seriously. So I had to put PS, it's a joke, people.
You didn't even
So
need to do that.
Lizzie Adams, she's a cartoon, for goodness sake. So, I mean.
Yeah, you didn't even need to do that.
Well,
True, you really didn't.
I don't care. I did it anyway. I mean, it was just.
Well, the biggest thing is you really didn't need to do that in the first place. I understand why you did, but it's like biggest thing about it is it's just completely showing how many people with social media, it's all they know as far as any kind of social viewing, anything. They don't know how to deal with people eye to eye, face to face. And this is the thing. So they take offense to it. And it's like, personally to me, much as I do with Twitter, with all those others, I hope that Twitter does sync if it does. I hope TikTok syncs. I hope they all sync because we got to start getting a new generation of people to know what they're doing with other people.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's just, I work around some fairly young people in the theater. I mean, but these are theater people. They're accustomed to being able to stand in front of another human being and speak. Okay. I mean, this is just, is it a lost art? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Oh, no questions. Yeah. Because one of the things that no matter how much we do social media, how much I would do it, I had 19 years, 20 years before I even saw anything with like a phone, and like 23 or 4 before I did it online. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, so it means you had all those years with, eye to eye with people and knew how to talk to people.
Well, exactly. I mean, what did you do in school? I mean, you have to talk to your teachers.
Yeah.
Or other, your classmates.
That's true.
I guess. I mean,
yeah.
I don't even know what anybody does these days. I couldn't tell you. I don't have kids, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been out of school. You know what I'm saying?
Kidding. I mean, what do they do?
Well, anyway, last week, folks, we had an issue with the glitch. About an hour in, it looks like I disappeared, and it was just basically a recording. It was basically a recording.
All we heard was your voice and a sort of an echo of mine. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So we didn't know what was going on. So hopefully we don't have this issue tonight. If we have to do that, we're going to have to investigate it. But we got to this. So we're going to have we are going to have 5 or 6 good topics tonight. So we've got things going. So what do we have for first?
All right. Well, let's go with
oh boy.
You mentioned this on your Facebook a little while ago, and I think it referred to
only all the time.
Well, exactly. And but referring to like sports figures and entertainers and things like that, and
right,
movie making and stuff. I mean, why apologize for a movie you made 20 years ago? Okay, it's just, it doesn't make sense because it was appropriate at the time.
Yeah.
Well,
one of the biggest deals we've got, one of the biggest deals we have with it's not even just making the movies. They've gone out of control with it. It is like, oh, I said something in high school. I said this, I've said that. I did this. Oh, she felt offended. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, one of the biggest things is it on their own? No, I truly don't believe so. I believe at about 11 o'clock at night, some PR person, one of the publicists, one of anybody is telling them to go say something, and then they'll write it for them.
Well, it's possible, or they've been given some flack for it, online or elsewhere, and basically just, issued a go ahead for, some sort of like, half-assed apology about whatever. But what I'm referring to is something like, what was that movie, Love Actually?
Yeah.
It was mentioned, I think on the news or something, and the filmmaker is apologizing for not making it more inclusive. Well, inclusivity was not a thing, at least not the way it is now, back in 2001. All right. It was just a romantic comedy with a bunch of people around Christmas time. Okay. Dealing with different issues. I have not actually seen the film, so I can't comment on any of the actors or the story per se, but it's like, saying the producer of Leave It to Beaver saying, well, I'm sorry, we didn't write this about an ethnic family. Well, hello, in 1959,
Yeah.
people weren't telling stories about ethnic families. Okay. I mean, once in a while, an ethnic actor would come on and appear in a film or a TV show, but it wasn't centered around them. That didn't even start happening until the 70s. So,
And
did they apologize for that? No.
Well, the biggest issue we have with something like this, I mean, or we could say 67 if we want to count Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But one of the things we deal with is we're supposed to have guilt. This is a whole guilt trip deal now. Everybody's got to feel guilty for something they had nothing to do with.
No.
And what at some point, you want to know what this is going to do is cause a backlash. It's like when there was this is the thing, when there was a whole thing during the time of the riots, a whole thing, with the riots and there was every time we do seem to have, any kind of protests, any kind of riots, any of that stuff, there is a whole thing we got to make sure they, like saying, we got to make sure we make them look good. We make anything of people of color, women, any of that stuff look good. But then what happens in the middle of that is they absolutely wait until it quiets down and then they shut it down quietly. And then guess what happens? Then if you want to know what happens in the stuff, and they want to be able to have, oh, you have to have this amount of women, you have to have this amount of minorities, this amount of anything, they just do a period piece. Yeah. They just do a period piece meant on based on a true story that wouldn't have any people of color, it gives them an excuse to do that. And there's a ton of those.
There are a ton of those. And, period pieces have been done and continually are done throughout the course of entertainment history. I mean, in the 70s, it was, the Waltons, Little House on the Prairie, and, a bunch of TV movies, especially Disney, that would make films that, and stories that took place in the 1800s and early 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when there was just, again, people of color were not represented at that time because, quite frankly, not too many of them had that many rights at that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and even even Michael Landon brought like Moses Gunn on every once in a while, maybe a couple others, but maybe a couple others. But other than that, I mean, that's just them saying that we're going to be inclusive a little bit, but they didn't have that many. And no, but really, what we've got to start doing, the thing is, they're thinking that this is going to do, we're going to make everybody feel better. Everything is a feelings deal. There's no real perception of anything. And where my problem is it's going to make things worse. It's going to make things worse because people are going to, if there are people that are truly racist, and there's a ton of people that are racist out there. If there's the ones that are racist out there, they're going to find the loophole. It's kind of like with the whole taxes for the rich, and they find the loophole, so it goes down. Mm-hmm. People are going to find loopholes. The best thing that we can really do is show. I mean, this is time. Back in the time, people didn't even do this. You got to show respect. You got to be able to hire them. You got to find out where their talents are, and you got to have respect for it. That's our first step of everything. Not everybody does it still, but it's like forcing things is just going to make things worse.
Well, it always does. I mean, you might have people who just smile and nod and then carry on with what they've always done, and then nothing ever changes. Yeah. Nothing real. Okay. Nothing real. But I mean, the only answer to that, fake PR apologies, though, this crap in the media, social media, newspapers, whatever. Well, they call it the news media. All right. It's not just the papers, it's online and radio and everything else. is quit it, like you've been saying it yourself. Quit apologizing for something you did. I mean, he's a fucking filmmaker.
Yeah.
Okay? He was directing a film that was written in 2000, 2001, whatever. And it came out then. It was well received. It was popular, apparently. And moving right along. Okay. It was just a piece of entertainment. And there was something else, a photograph in a newspaper from 1957 of somebody, and I forget his name now because it was a couple of weeks ago, who was appearing in some kind of racial incident on a school campus. And it was a photograph, and he was just kind of standing in the background observing, and then apologized for that.
Yeah.
He didn't take the picture.
Jerry Jones. I know Jerry Jones, and he by the way, he didn't. Luckily, he did not apologize. I can say this. Luckily, he did not. What he said was, "Well, our coaches even said there's going to be a lot of protests. Don't get involved." He's kind of the thing, which is lucky he didn't apologize. He's not one of those. But people are asking about apologies. Well, we're having an issue. Where we're having an issue with this is you're having so many people that think, oh, we got to, like I said, this isn't anything feasible. It's feelings, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
It's feelings. And what do you do? What does that do for anybody? It does nothing for them. It's not getting any more higher. There are people that still believe, heart of heart, that we are like 1960, where Betty Furness did a bunch of ads for Westinghouse, and it was all appliances. And, and it was that stuff. And like the 1960 election, Betty Furness did all the appliances ads and all the household ads. And you want to know what the main ones men did? Westinghouse was helping build the igloo in Pittsburgh. Yeah, they were showing how, the state-of-the-art stadium. Men did that one. Women, the appliances. Women are now in construction and doing all this, and they still think that women are treated like that to this day. And we know better than that.
Well, we know better than that, but believe it or not, is progressive, okay, is entertainment supposedly is. There are those that are embracing, in fact, even promoting a more traditional approach to relationships, the stories, marriage, which kind of brings us to our next topic.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing against her. Okay, I got nothing against her. I could care less.
Right.
I know her brother's this big religiosity guy and all that, preacher or whatever he is.
Nutbag. I call him nutbag.
Okay, fine, whatever, nutbag. I don't care about either one of them either way. But this woman who has this idea wants to promote traditional marriage, presumably between a man and a woman, in television shows, in the what was the network, Great American Way or something.
Right. Oh no, the Great American Family.
Great American Family. Okay. Yeah. All right, fine, whatever. And but as a producer and as a promoter, I mean, it's entertainment, it's private business. She can do whatever the hell she wants with it. And a lot of people do. Okay. Yeah. And if it's successful, then that clearly tells you what people want to watch. And if it's not successful, it's going to say the same thing. People don't really care too much about it. So,
well, the biggest thing is both Candace Cameron Bure and Kirk Cameron are they're big and religious. But the biggest thing is you never notice her own brother, who hasn't had much of a career outside of his religious stuff in like 30 years, are never on her movies. And it's like, that just shows her movies are quote unquote too secular for him, which is funny to say that. But
well, I mean, he's always struck me as a bit extreme.
Well, yeah. But the biggest thing about it is I had the subject like this on Pundit last night. There was a woman who decided not to kneel for the anthem like we have this whole deal. She was a soccer player for the Virginia Tech. She decided not to kneel for and then the players bullied her. The coach sat her, and then they kicked her off the team, and she sued. And she's allowed to bring the suit together.
So bring it up to speed for someone like me who may not be familiar with exactly what happened. What did she didn't want to kneel for?
Didn't want to kneel for the anthem. The whole thing is the protest of kneeling for the anthem.
She did or did not
Did
kneel?
not want to. Did not want to.
So she stood during the national anthem.
And then the other players bullied her. The coach sat her, and then they ended up basically kicking her off the team.
Let me tell you something that happened when I was in high school. Briefly, I mean, I used to notice this. There were a lot of one, I remember this, more, it stands out in my head, is one African-American kid who did not stand up during the Pledge of Allegiance. He just remained in his seat.
Yeah.
And no one ever said anything to him about it.
Right.
The rest of us had to stand, okay?
Yeah.
We stood and saluted the flag.
Yeah.
And on one particular occasion, one of the more, I think she was the school counselor, or she was, because I remember talking with her about, college choices and all that. And she was Black also.
Mm-hmm.
She happened to be in the room, in our classroom when the Pledge of Allegiance started. And then she stopped what she was talking about, and she stood and she looked over at the young man who was seated. And she said, what was his name? I can't remember his name. She said, "Are you not going to stand and salute the flag?" I said, "Do you not have respect for the flag?" And he was just kind of looking up at her like, ugh. She said, "I did that for you. I was part of that for you." In other words, the civil rights era, okay?
Yeah.
The 60s, however, or however early it had been.
Right.
And she says, "I did that for you." So, I mean, there's the answer. There's, an older person's answer to that, to that young kid's actions. Okay.
And yeah, and see, the biggest thing is there's a whole thing about that kneeling is part of free speech. It is. It is part of free speech. It's just true. It's part of free speech. But the thing is, so is not kneeling. And now the thing, and this is the thing with Candace Cameron Bure, they're we could say berating her for wanting traditional marriage, which is her choice. It's also a free speech choice to, if you want to be able to have ones that are not traditional, gay marriage or however. It's like the biggest thing is we are in a deal where, like I said, in entertainment, we are in a deal right now where I have a true belief that people want revenge. They don't want to talk. Because I really believe there's revenge based off of way back when, off the McCarthy hearings. And now you're getting liberals that want to keep conservatives out of the whole deal.
Well, and there's certainly part of it, okay? And the wave of there was a time when political correctness now. I mean, there was a revenge wave in the 90s of all these family values things, because it was just coming up, especially in media.
Yeah.
Blockbuster Video was one. I mean, they were very, they would not allow certain movies to be rented and sold out of their shops.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is going way back. It's just a start of it. Okay, this is how it progressed. And a lot of alternative media that was made in the 70s and 80s. Of course, a lot of it was gay themed, and it involved maybe a licentious activity, a lot of nudity, a lot of just bad language, and not even just bad language, not even like the F-bomb, just like, I mean, chronically bad language and stuff and issues. And then, but they weren't the rating system that came about because certain movies that were not explicit enough to be labeled an X.
Yeah.
Too extreme for an R.
Right.
They came up with NC-17.
Sure.
Okay. And that it's kind of like halfway in between an R and an X. All right. And, I remember that I forget the first movie that came out that was an NC-17. I mean, it had to do with violence, or it had to do with maybe sexual activity, or a combination of all the above. Drug use, I don't know what it all involved. But then Well, the moral majority and the Christian coalition, and there was some other one. It was some other family values group. It was something along those lines. They were all out there and they were, just began protesting this stuff, but they got a foothold in Congress. Okay.
Yeah.
They started electing officials that approved of their viewpoints. Okay. Your Falwells, your Pat Robertsons, that whole bunch of them. And they started, infiltrating. All right. Yeah. They started getting their little clutches into entertainment and in corporate America. Certain people, they can't ask you questions about, are you married? Do you have this or that or the other? But they could phrase certain questions in a way that gave them a clue as to what your lifestyle was.
Yeah.
Whether or not they would hire them.
Yeah.
And some places still probably do that.
Oh, no, no question.
It got really, really bad in the 90s with that crap. Okay. And
yeah, but is it worth?
But then you have the reverse. You had, the early 2000s, after the Patriot Act, after 9/11, it got even worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but is it really
flip-flop? Nobody's ever coming together. And, Candace, with this thing about traditional marriage, I mean, can you? How many shows on TV don't represent traditional marriage?
Well, and the thing, I mean, is true and that's understood. And it's like, the thing is though, is there anything worth it to berate people for wanting just to have traditional values? I mean, is it revenge to do that because a lot of them feel like that they were bashed for their livelihoods for all those years?
Well, I think there is definitely part of that. And, it's coming out. And also, I mean, really, no one should be denied an opportunity to get married. Okay. Yeah. It shouldn't be there. I mean, again, it's stupid if you think you're going to marry a minor. Okay. Someone who's not of the age of consent, or say an animal. I remember the stupid posts that happened out there like, well, I'm going to marry my dog. Really? Your dog's going to accept marriage vows? Yeah. Really?
Yeah. And
that's just dumb. Okay.
It just jumped on my leg, so it said yes.
God. Come on. I mean, and who cares? Except the people who want to be married.
But in the end, who cares though about if she wants what does it hurt? See, what we're getting is everything is such an extreme. I'll tell you why she's going to get really, really big. This is going to get big on the networks. They're going to get Great American Family. That's going to get big, and her movies are going to get big. And the reason being is you hear more and more. You will hear these cross dressers, these trans people going to basically around kids, and that a lot of these people don't want that, and so they are going to watch those movies.
Well, Trans Story Hour, okay, is a whole different ball game than representing a different, individuals on, say, a TV show aimed at adults. All right.
Yeah.
Trans Story Hour is its own phenomenon. Okay.
Yeah.
And parents do not have to allow their kids to be a part of that. Right. They can remove them. Okay. And it's just, yeah. And I don't know. It just, I still, unless you start really getting gross and disgusting with it, I still don't see the harm.
By the way, update on the complete and utter socialist Joe Biden. The Senate just passed an $858 billion defense spending bill.
Okay.
No, I had to make that update because there were people that the only reason I say this is because there's people every single time that think when a Democrat gets into office, we're not going to spend money on defense. And it's like, and it ends up they spent just as much money as they did with Trump.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he just promoted it more. That's just the difference. He promoted it more. But yeah, but no, back to Candace. Yeah, you had but here's the thing that really got people mad. You had you had your trans story hour, then Kirk Cameron, which I call him nutbag, which is true. But they said Christian story hour is not allowed in there when the thing is, and when the trans story hour is, and it's like, I know one is church and state, and the other is, but still, one's pretty gross if someone wants it to be. The other one, it's the other one is either real or fairy tale, depending on the person.
Well, here's the thing about Christian story hour. No religion should be taught in public schools unless
Well,
you
it was
go
at a library, though. It was at a library.
a
Not
public
a store,
library.
Yes.
Well, in that case, you have different. Then all religions should be included. Have Jewish story hour. Have Buddhist story hour. Have
Okay.
Indian, Hindu story hour. Okay.
Either way, no matter what you have, either of those are going to be a heck of a lot more moral than what that is, and I just have to be honest with that.
Well,
That's gonna be a lot more. I mean, Jewish story hours, Buddhist, anything's gonna be a lot more moral than watching some crazy and absolutely crazy trans people doing that story hour.
I know they're crazy. First of all, have you ever seen one of those story hours personally?
Personally, no. But it's like you can't if you're going out there. If you're going, no, the only thing you see is the crazy part clips that you do see. So no, of course I haven't seen that.
So in other words, you haven't seen it from start to finish.
Well, you don't see it from start to finish, but why do they need to see that? Why do you have to put that to kids? I've never said that I've ever been there.
Public libraries that.
Yeah, but that's what you're right on that.
Libraries that.
You're right on that, but I've also never said that I've been at one of those because I don't want to be at one of those. I'm just being honest about that. But I just have to wonder, what is their end game of doing something like that in the first place? Why does kids need to know?
All right. Now, here's how I can only think about it. That gender, while largely a social construct, once you take away that, and you basically have little boys and girls that are kind of, in their own little groups, and many of them just copy what they see. Okay.
Yeah.
Most kids are just going to copy what they see, other than eating and drinking and pooping.
Yeah.
You learn everything else. Okay. And I guess what they're trying to put out there is that this is not such a bad thing. It's not to be shunned. It's not to be afraid of.
It's miserable. It's a horrible thing, especially with kids. It's horrible. And it's like there's things that you and I are going to agree with, like in the world. I mean, what we talked about in our last topic. These kids don't need to. You got to allow innocence on some kids here. You got to allow some innocence in the youth. You have to. You got to every once in a while. If you have parents, if you got parents, you got to allow them to have. Just have some fun with Santa Claus. You got to allow that kind of thing. When you take away more and more innocence, you don't need 4-year-old adults.
No, you don't. Well, I'm going to put it out there like this. I say, as long as it remains at a certain level, I see no problem with it. Okay. Now you start getting raunchy or out of control, then yes, in front of, 5 and 6-year-olds, I say, all right, look, cool it or you're done. Okay. Cut it out. That's all you have to say. I mean, it's just, well, again, it's like watching someone dressed up as a clown. I mean, it's not, I've seen drag shows and performances. I think they're funny.
If
you keep it PG, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, the biggest thing I have an issue with is what I have to ask this. Well, I mean, you're right. You're all right. It's like they're going to say kids copy everything. Why do they need to copy? But I also have to ask these parents, truly, why? What is the end game for you? Why do you want them to know this? Because you are right. Parents can make that choice.
Sure, they can.
They can make that choice.
Totally.
But what is with the parents needing to? It's like that one kid from that one guy. Okay, Sam Bankman-Fried. He was the one with that whole crypto deal. He got arrested.
Yeah.
His mom and dad were both professors. His mom wrote a dissertation on saying that we got to stop putting blame on. I'm not kidding you. Putting blame on criminals. She did a dissertation on that. We can't be putting blame on them.
So in other words, this kid grew up with a woman, a mother who at least felt criminals should not be held accountable for their actions,
Exactly.
whether or not she taught him this. Okay.
Right.
She obviously felt that way. Okay, so obviously at some point she probably voiced these opinions, or he heard them, or he grew up hearing them, and
Yep.
absorbed this maxim of criminals are not responsible, and he became one himself.
By the
A
way, we got our first Facebook.
Can you answer it, or do I? How do I answer it?
We could just say it from here. What do you say? We got someday.
We can certainly, absolutely. We're planning on doing it at some point.
Absolutely. No, then thank you, by the way. No, thank you very much, by the way, for having that. It's like, because guess what? You are our first. You're our first response. David, Chad, thank you very much for showing.
Definitely. Thank you.
No, and the biggest, those are the biggest things, though. Is why do we all have to? It's like, I really believe the whole point I love about Yin and Yang, and I love Pundit, and I love all this because it's conversation. But I really believe in a lot of these extremes because we don't have any conversation. Everything is chaos.
Well, just like this post that I just made on Facebook, for goodness sake, it was a stupid ass quote from the TV show Wednesday Addams. Now, if anybody knows anything about this show, it's a cartoon. I mean, they're cartoons, they're caricatures. I mean, this stuff, Wednesday Addams threw piranhas in a swimming pool to go after these stupid bullies that, picked on her brother. And she stood up there with these 2 bags full of piranhas, like she's just going to go out and get.
I bet that show's funny, isn't it?
I like she's just going to find piranhas, and she says, "Nobody tortures my brother but me." And she throws them in the pool, and they swim after her, after the other kids. And she gets sent away to some kind of boarding school for special kids with paranormal skills.
Yeah.
And of course, immediately she hates it. And she's like, she's not the first time I've ever killed one of my classmates, and even though he wasn't a classmate, he was just a student in her school. And just, you got to take the whole thing with a totally like this. And I put the quote on there about social media. And even though people know I post on Facebook like crazy, and then if someone was like, "Oh, well, you can use it for peace and love and whatever," something, I'm like, dude, you misunderstanding me. It's a joke.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll bet it's funny, isn't it, the show?
Oh, I'm starting to like it. Catherine Zeta-Jones, she's marvelous.
Yeah.
She's marvelous.
And there were people that were making.
And Luis Guzman is Gomez.
Oh, I know. They made fun of Luis Guzman because he's kind of short and fat, but that's the caricature.
I know.
Of the Gomez.
Well, John Astin was short, but he wasn't overweight. But still, great.
Well, they look. John Astin. They weren't going to have short and fat in the 60s.
Well, they had Carolyn Jones, and she was about the same height as Astin. So.
Oh no! They
got Catherine Zeta-Jones on platforms. She must be wearing platform shoes, unless Guzman is incredibly short.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's a cool show so far, and I'm enjoying it. And I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world, And she's a young person who hates social media. That's another joke. She's supposed to be like 12. And the whole about TikTok and shit. And I'm like, this is a joke. This is awesome.
The whole point though of Wednesday Addams is she's way too smart for social media.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of Wednesday Addams is she's always been smarter than everybody.
The original Addams Family was this caricature. It was a flip-flop of everything that was pure and good. And they had lizard. Wednesday had a pet lizard she's put on her shoulder, and of course there was Thing wandering around, and Lurch. It was all the very diametric opposite of what was considered pure. And this is why would it be any different?
Well, the whole point of here's the thing: the whole point of Addams Family, and I got
an idea.
Yeah.
The Addams Family should be on Candace Cameron Burr's channel because they're they're traditional husband, wife, 2 kids, perfect.
Yep. Well, and that could be. And it's like, and I can see that, but here's the thing. Here's the deal, though. It's like, there's a thing about it. I've had debates with people on Addams Family, and it's like, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of life. I'm not going to say that. But here's what I can say this about. I can say this about the Addams Family. It is legitimately, they are just a bit into the macabre. You know, more than a bit, but they're into the macabre. But everybody else thinks that they're absolutely out of their mind, which in a way they are. But they are probably the most normal family out of everybody. They're the most honest family in the neighborhood.
And Gomez with his Tish thing.
The,
He adores the hell out of Morticia.
Here's the thing about them. They give the thing about the Addams family, the Addamses, the thing about them, they give no fake vibes. They give nothing. Everybody else will give off a fake vibe inside the house and probably fighting 6 ways from loose. They are not in the ideal of life, but the biggest thing is they're the most real family on that whole neighborhood.
Totally. And that house is marvelous. I love it.
Oh, you'd love that house. Oh, good Lord. You and that house. I mean,
I would totally make it mine.
Old Victorian houses.
Very much so.
Oh yeah, that's up your alley. I already know you'd love that house.
Totally.
It looks about 4,000 square feet.
Probably from ceiling to floor. Yeah, for all of the floors. Yeah.
No, but the thing about the Candace Cameron Bure is people need in the world. It's, can we learn to talk and leave well enough alone? Because here's another thing that will happen it will happen when Family Hours starts coming back again, and it will, because people are forcing the issue. When it comes back again, then a lot of the out of the way type of livelihoods are going to get shamed again. That's going to be revenge. Because guess what? We don't know anything but revenge. We don't know about talking. We don't know anything. That's where it's like, don't screw around with the Family Hours. Don't screw around with any of that stuff. I mean, and I can tell you this, they've done this more than once. I mean, Dukes of Hazzard got kicked off in '85, but canceled. CBS has kicked off 3 different times in life. All those like hit shows and Family Hour, like, like a Dukes of Hazzard, like any of those types.
What's wrong with the Dukes of Hazzard?
They hated that there was hicks. The Los Angeles Times literally once said that it wouldn't make it past the first commercial break. And to this day, they have Dukes of Hazzard reunions.
I grew up with the Dukes of Hazzard. I had a poster of John Schneider on my door.
Oh, I want to work with John Schneider sometime. He's got himself movies. Yeah, but it's like, the biggest thing is they have Dukes of Hazzard reunions that bring hundreds and hundreds of General Lees, and they make piles of money.
Well, it was funny. And the thing is, it was a parody of the South. Those 2 actors, Tom Wopat and John Schneider, were New Yorkers. Cities based. Yeah. Good grief.
But then you get Jimmy Best.
Well, I love Boss Hogg. He was typical small town politician. He had that cigar and always trying to make a deal. Oh my God. They're not people that see that they're fucking cartoons.
Sorrelbook, who spoke 7 languages and was in military intelligence. I mean, the hick commissioner of Hazard County spoke 7 languages and was in army intelligence. One of the smartest men you'll ever meet in your life.
Well, hang on just a second. I'm trying to do something here. Yeah. Okay.
No. Hey, if I wanted to do, I think I could do not Boss Hogg, but I think I could do Roscoe. If I was to do those little reunion deals, I think I could do it.
You ought to cosplay him sometime. Put the little outfit on and the hat.
Oh, I think I could. Here's the thing. I'm only 6 years younger when he started it.
It was James Best, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jimmy Best. Oh yeah, and he was a painter, by the way.
Yeah.
He was a painter, by the way. So he did all kinds of art.
Well, but going back to Candace and the show, Well, what you're having now, and this, like you said, is revenge, but it's also happening with our elected officials. Okay, we're
Hmm.
seeing this, and we've talked about this. Okay, which goes back to my next. Who's out to censor? Is it just a battle of censorship?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think now really. Okay, but both sides are guilty. Okay, both sides.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know.
Trying to censor something like Drag Queen Story Hour is just as bad as trying to censor family values television shows.
But who wins in the who's going to
Who's
win in this?
trying to win? It's an
Yeah,
awareness.
yeah,
Okay, this so-called family values is trying to push a conservative agenda. Okay, it's a box that not everyone fits in. All the other things are trying to understand, are trying to help people, children, young adults see that yes, there are other sides. There are other boxes. There's outside.
you got a whole life to. You truly have a whole life. But I'm saying this. I'm not going to talk about pushing or doing anything. I'm just saying this truth. You got a whole teenage years. You've got all that time to be able to let them know all this thing. Does a 4 and 5-year-old need to know that?
Well, I think what they are trying to do is reduce, although, and you know how things have a way of backfiring, and they could
Yeah.
reduce misunderstandings and bullying, which can occur, especially in certain ages. Okay. But this is just part of development. It's not a good thing, and bullying does not need to happen just
Yeah.
for being what someone is. Okay.
Hmm.
A smaller, effeminate boy does not need to be bullied because he'd rather read a book than play football.
Hmm.
All right. Tomboy girls are rarely bullied. Okay. It's just
Well, tomboys will fight. That's not a big deal.
exactly. But other kind of girls are bullied. Geek girls, girls who are not socially acceptable, those who may be on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
looking at one, and who don't fit in, who don't care about nail polish, who don't care about, the latest frilly fashions, who may not want to dress like that or act like that. And yes, girls do bully other girls.
Oh, I know. And you oh, it's even worse sometimes because but you brought it up to yourself. You brought it up to me one day. It's like that, like we were talking about the Good Old Boys Network. You brought it up to me. You don't think that there'd be a Good Old Girls network because the girls get too catty.
Well, women do get catty with each other, especially when it's competition. But I also believe, well, yes, there are women that support other women. And we've seen that. We've seen it in examples on West Wing
Sure.
with Amy, the character, a fictional character.
Yeah.
We don't see it enough in real life,
Right.
and I wish that we would.
You wish there
But
were other Amy's?
yeah, because one, I think she'd be the kind of girl in high school who didn't care about the latest fashions or getting her nails done. She's
Right.
too intellectual. She's too smart. She's too,
But she probably gives snarmy smart ass comments back to the
goes
girly
around
girls.
dressing a certain way because she knows that this is the people she's hobnobbing with on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Okay. But if given the choice,
You know she'd have a smart ass demeanor to all the frilly girls in high school.
yeah. Well, but back to the censorship. Now, elections and censorship. Now, I forget what prompted this topic. Was it the midterms we just had? Or?
Yeah, and I brought this part up because it's like it feels like we're at war between which one is going to censor. Which one's going to censor? Because if you get, guess what? If you would hypothetically get, let's say Mike Pence. You hypothetically get Mike Pence, you could say goodbye right now, right away. Then you know this. You can say goodbye to Planned Parenthood. You're probably there's going to be a lot of things like with television shows. You're probably going to see Family Hour again, probably even worse than it was before. You're probably going to see those things and getting all that stuff. And you got to realize people worried about Trump with oh my God, we're just going to be like that Family Hour. It's like Donald Trump walks in on women in walks in on naked women in his beauty pageants. He ain't gonna be like that. So it's like people forgot about that because that's knee jerk. People forgot that Trump's Mr. Pervert. I mean, he loves beautiful women. He has a type. He marries
yeah.
beautiful women.
Been accused of groping. I don't know how many.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. It's like when the women. It's like all the knee jerk women that did all the protests and they're going out naked. It's like you don't think that the beautiful ones he didn't have a set of binoculars.
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course.
He didn't need binoculars. He had front row seats.
Exactly. And it's like, and those are the things that you don't think about when you're knee jerk. It's like, and they're thinking that it's like, oh, he's going to ruin. It's like, you think Donald Trump is going to end bikinis? You think Donald Trump's going to end nudity? Are you kidding me?
No. Him is this ridiculously uptight, bored up his ass, or at least he appears to be. Now, what he is behind the scenes is anyone's guess. Okay?
Right.
He may be an absolute lascivious pig. Okay.
Right.
But he's given that presentation of being this ultra conservative. I mean, dangerously right, alt-right.
You're talking about Mike Pence.
Pence, yes.
Yeah. No, I don't. He's probably lascivious with his wife, but it's like, but
or maybe even other women too. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's just there's your
But it's like you get. Let's just say you get that. Okay, and even then, you're also going to get it with DeSantis too. And there's the thing, I like DeSantis better than I do Pence myself. And I know Trump will be gone in a year anyway. I really believe that.
Well, most people think that too, and it's wow.
Well, this is somebody. I'm the one who I knew he was going to make it the first time. I also know when he's going to go. I can feel it. It's time. It's about his time because he's going to find something else. It's just. I mean, he's in his 4 years. He's in his 4 years now. He's probably past his shelf life anyway, because it's usually 4 years where everything ends. He's about 5 right now. But the thing is, probably 7 close if you want to do that. But the biggest thing is we have that, or you get a liberal side who look like that they want to shame people out of, I like that girl who I was saying she didn't want to kneel, shame her, kick her off, everything like that. Who's going to win? Who's going to censor?
Well, did she go to? She sued them, did she not?
She's suing them right now, yes. And
okay.
Most likely she's going to win.
She'll win this.
Huh?
She'll win this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why she wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. But well, do you understand that the attitudes, long-held conservative attitudes that have prevailed in the country and other parts of the world, but right now we're talking about the United States, have prevailed for the longest time. I'm watching a movie right now, which is on the film Freeway, and heaven help me, I forget the name of it. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna look it up right here. I'm watching it. It's won numerous awards. Yeah. Well, first of all, the filmmaker's name is Ken Sagos, and he's got a short film, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm watching it right now. It's part of the Atlanta Film Festival, and it's about 6 Black teenagers who were arrested. Okay.
Yeah.
This was like a protest. This was a thing that happened in Alabama, not the Tuskegee thing. It was something different.
Sure.
And they were all jailed and never even given, like a phone call. I mean, they were just thrown in with the hogs. Okay. And it's a story that's about them. There's conversations. These people, this young kid who's supposedly like 17 or 18 at the time, went with his father to go vote. And this was in 1963.
Sure.
Okay. And the voter attendant, whoever's the person in charge of the voting, he was going in there to vote. He was signing a name. And this guy brought 2 jars of marbles and set them right down in front of him. right on top of the paper he was filling out. And he said, I will allow you to vote if you could tell me how many marbles are in each one of these jars. That kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm sure that's not an exaggeration.
No, it would be an exaggeration. No.
But you have to understand that was just in the 60s.
I know.
It's 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, that's not a long time ago. Women had to go undercover in the 70s before Roe v. Wade. There's a movie called The Janes. These stories talk to the actual women who were a part of that.
Yeah.
That's not that long ago, people. So why all these arch conservative things coming in here and saying, oh, you're ruining our family values? No one's ruining your fucking family values. No one. Is anyone driving out to your small town where your parks are and your kids and your libraries and then marching through saying, hey, we're taking over?
Well, they would love to. There's a lot that would.
Would, but are going to, and would or will? No.
Well, it would just cause violence. They just cause violence there if we go again on it.
Do you know the violence that has been brought about onto gay and lesbian and trans people and people of color, ethnic people?
I know that. And I'm well aware of that part, but
there's
it's like
a reason why this is happening, and I'm just explaining why.
Yeah.
I didn't say I agree with the direction it's going. I just said this is why.
All I know about
have violence brought against them for that.
But we also have we talk about censorship. We talk about Elon Musk, and it's like he bought Twitter, which was bought from another rich entity, a really rich guy with another rich entity. You get my point. And we get this, and the problem with it is now people have issues, even though there are journalists like, say, Taylor Lorenz, who has doxed people. One of the people there, because doxed people that did not agree with her, and she works for a really wealthy guy, but she agrees with his politics. And the thing is, Elon Musk has a belief, but Elon Musk really is not a Trump fan. In fact, he's going for Ron DeSantis. This is his first time as a Republican. All he is saying is, I want freedom of speech for everybody. Twitter, on their Twitter files, has admitted that they killed freedom of speech and blocked people it did not agree with.
So the Twitter app, or those in charge of it, I guess you could say, are the ones censoring posts?
Yeah, they censored posts. They blocked people.
You know what? Let me tell you something, honey. Facebook's been doing it for years.
Yes, I know that.
Okay. You've seen my modeling pictures. I model, folks. Okay. It's out there. It's on Model Mayhem, Instagram. Those of you who don't know, I'm just saying I model. Oh, about 6 years ago, I did some scandal.
Has it been that long?
Uh-huh.
Oh, geez. Time goes quick.
Not since I modeled, since this incident I'm about to tell you about.
Right.
I just modeled a few months ago, dear.
Right. No, it hasn't been that long since that incident is what I meant.
It's been this long, but that's because I've been very careful, all right? Yeah. I posted some scantily clad photos, very artistic. They were like Caravaggio paintings. They were like in settings. It was on a bed, and I had a drape over me, and I was holding like this big candelabra thing, and I had a mask on. And of course, I had one exposed breast. But the exposed nipple was slightly hidden behind the candelabra I was holding. So all you got was just maybe a suggestion of it. Sure. Facebook banned the image and blocked me for 7 days because of it.
Yeah.
That one image. And you couldn't even see anything. I can show it to you.
All right.
So it's been censored. That's been censored, which is dumb. I have stuff from my club days. I used to take pictures of the gals that used to do some dance and, kind of wrap themselves up in cellophane and things like that on stage.
Yeah.
They're covered completely. You can clearly understand what's being covered up. All right. But it's still covered. I had those images reported once.
Right.
They were taken off Facebook. I had to put them back on, but I had to blur out the areas that anybody would construe them as nipples or anything else.
Right.
I'm like, what kind of BS Big Brother 1984 crap is happening. So if my stuff like that is being censored, other people's is too. So it works both ways, dear. I'm trying to tell you.
See, but the biggest thing is one of the things that's the absolute reason Elon Musk bought it in the first place. But people used him as a hero before they knew what his thought process was. Now they are putting him in the same boat as Trump in the hate category because we have a whole segment of people, and I'm talking about either way, that want their freedom of speech only for one
Right.
side. That has to stop. Guess what? Do I agree? I'm never going to agree with. I'm never going to agree with the trans story hour. But let me tell you this: I'm not going to tell you not to believe in it or agree with it. I'm never going to do that, ever, because guess what? You do have the freedom to believe. We all need a freedom to believe. This has to stop because people from other countries, all continents, come over here for that freedom. It is the last bastion of freedom for everyone.
Well, I agree with that. Okay. Yes. But you have as many expats from the United States. Well, more people want to come here, more people that want to cross the border. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For obvious reasons. Mexico's corrupt as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, the people are poor, but Mexico is actually a very wealthy country.
Uh-huh.
They're the dictators
Right.
and all that, and down in there, and the leaders and all the people are poor. They just
Right.
want to come here and work and make a living.
Yeah.
And good many of them do. And but in Europe, it's a whole different ball game. There's just a different structure. I mean, there is elections there. There's elections in Germany and France and now Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, but some of those countries are now starting to go even further right. So think about it. Germany really is.
Well, they can do that part, but it's like they can do that, and that's very, very true. But they went really, really right because they also went really, really left before.
Well, you know what was happening in Europe, and again, this isn't to do with the United States, but there was a lot of terrorism happening in those countries, and it was due to a certain religion, which I will not mention.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we were fighting those people in the early 2000s and middle 2000s. And there was assassinations going on. There was terrorism. There was buildings being blown up. France took those little shitheads out and just,
Yeah.
The Charlie Hebdo thing.
I know. Yeah.
Happening in Europe. That's why you're getting this right wing. You're getting the right wing backlash to that. Just open the door. Come on in. The Netherlands, Sweden. Yep. There's a whole lot of that in those more liberal, so-called liberal countries, and there people living there are fed up with it.
And they are fed up with it. And you know it's going to be sad. There's going to be innocent people, tons of innocent people in the middle of this. And there's going to be ones that get killed.
There always is in a conflict.
Yep. And they're going to get killed. People are going to get, there is going to be, see, you want to know what the thing is right now. Like anybody that's like, say, a real right wing, real Trump supporter, whatever, there are people, instead of trying to stop their own end, they literally want the Trump supporters to get violent. So they say, see, I told you. They're not trying. And by the way, Chadrick, thank you very much. And we appreciate you. This one right here.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yep.
We appreciate that. We'll both reach out to you about being a guest later on this week, probably. Okay. Awesome.
Appreciate that. These are the things, though. It's what do we? I mean, by itself, you get this. It's like there's always the reason. It's like if there's a fully right wing, there was a left wing that went crazy. And it's like it's never. It's like at some point, all I can think about is what we once did. Yeah, did we have arguments in politics? Of course we did. We always did. Was there were there scumbag liberals and scumbag conservatives back in the time? Of course there were. They were just more white. Just it's always been. It's a certain thing. It's like it's there's more women and more minorities, and there's a lot of white. It's just what it is. It is what it is. But there's still the same thing in those times. But because we did not have social media, there was more time to talk.
Well, people had no other means of talking except either on the phone or each other.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, and even before the telephone, what did you have? Gossip over the neighborhood picket fences, okay?
yeah, yeah,
Or across the, in the big cities, buildings so close to each other, you lean out the window and talk to the person across the way. I mean, that's what people did.
yeah.
Uh, oh, by the way,
Absolutely.
while I'm thinking about it, that movie I referred to is called The Secret Weapon. Yesterday is Today. It's a short film. Um,
Well, you want to know another thing that's to do
Online
with
somewhere, but it was on Film Freeway as part of my Atlanta Film Festival screenings. In fact, it's the last one. I need to write a review on it before tomorrow, which I will, and then that'll
right.
give me my 50 short films that I've looked at for the whole session.
You want to
Um,
know what you want to know another movie that has to do with okay, let's say cult of personality. We can say something like this.
there's a million
There's
movies about the cult of personality.
yeah, cult of personality. The biggest one I would say, Andy Griffith, the Face of the Crowd, 1957.
So was the one about who was the guy that Hustler magazine? What was his name?
Oh, Larry Flint.
Yes, The People versus Larry Flint. That's
Hmm.
also a cult of personality.
Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson's a great actor.
Totally.
Yeah,
But cult of personality, that's one too.
yeah.
Um,
But no, but have
personality.
you ever seen a Face in the Crowd?
No.
It is the idea of it is basically a Trump type thing. I'm just gonna say it. It is. It's like it is an old country hick named Lonesome Rhodes, and it's played by Andy Griffith. And what it is, it's like he is on this little bitty network, and then but he's got this what's going on, that kind of deal, just all that, and then he becomes bigger, and he becomes bigger, and he becomes bigger, and he starts going, and then soon enough they want him to go for president, and it's all that stuff, and in the midst of it, he becomes really really phony. But
Eventually,
it's basically he basically is like what it's one of those things like thank you, I'll see you, these idiots, that kind of thing, and you'd see this type of stuff, and it's like what people are you would expect Trump to do that, and those type of deals, and it's like this is all the way back in 57.
I wouldn't give Donald Trump even a moment of my consideration if he had not run and won the presidency, because this country, the president, the process of it, he made some things happen I think you were happy about.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Mm-hmm.
you wanted that change, let's just,
Yeah.
get rid of Washington, blah, blah, blah. But here we are back 4 years later, okay? And
You know what it brought though? It brought more. Here's the thing it did do. One thing I do really like: record numbers of people voted. And the biggest thing with that is this isn't like if there was people that wanted proof. Once you had record numbers, what would you do? Who would win? The Republicans still won the House. The Democrats still won the Senate. It's still there. It just shows no matter what, if you get record numbers, you're still going to get around the same thing because we are divided. It's like it proved not, but I do like that we have so many out there. I don't like 28%. I don't like 28% voting in the middle of a midterm. I don't like that.
well, there was a time when people will throw their hands up and go, what's the use? Okay. Well, I tell you, when Obama ran, that was a large number of voters too.
Well,
Obama,
Hillary ruined that large number of voters on the thing. They could not stand her.
who?
For the Democrats, Hillary.
Well,
They could not stand her. It's like,
she's just shot herself in the foot too many times. Okay.
well, no, they couldn't stand her. It's like literally a quarter of the people that went for Obama went for Trump.
Well, I mean, middle of the road people would have done that. Moderates and middle of the road and undecided independents, they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us, we need to move on to our next topic.
Sure.
Now, this guy this was one of yours.
Oh.
He just passed away as an actor.
Yeah.
And remind us again of what he was in and what he was doing.
Well, one of my favorite shows, my mom and I used to watch Walker, Texas Ranger. He was Jimmy Trevette.
Okay,
And then he was also in Matlock. He was in Matlock for 4 years. He was Matlock's private detective, and he got that. He was also in Top Gun. He was also in Die Hard. Had a nice little career. And then
And the thing is, he's not a name anybody would recognize. He's a face. He's one of those actors that may be a face. You go, oh, I've seen that guy a million times.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of them out there like that who make entire careers out of just being, oh, that face. I've seen that person. What's their name? You know.
Well, what I loved what he did 9 years of Walker, 8 years of Walker. Did 8 years. Did a movie, did all that stuff. He decided to teach instead. He had a chance to go. He could have probably done a bunch of TV movies. Probably could have gone, straight to video even. Could have done a lot of different things. You know what he did? He decided to go teach. He went to UNLV and became the head drama professor. And the thing was, because he wanted to be home with his kids and his wife. He wanted to do all that stuff. He decided to be a teacher. And he also helped a lot of students along the way. And so you know who else was like that, even though he was a big actor too? James Best. He was Burt Reynolds' teacher. He was a bunch of people's teacher. And it's like there's someone like me who's been a teacher, tutor, mentor. I love that. Someone who wants to give above themselves.
Well, there's a lot of, that's got to bring him a lot of happiness and satisfaction to be able to impart his knowledge to a younger generation, or even those who are maybe not even that young. You don't have to be, if you're in a drama school, you don't have to be traditional college age. You can be 35 and go to drama school.
Yep.
If you want to do it. I mean, as you can see from, the classes that we teach here that are taught here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But as far as other actors who've done that, can you name, besides Best and him, can you name a few others? I know that people teach, a lot of famous actors will teach workshops.
Right.
They'll be Los Angeles and, places like that. And they probably bring in the high dollars. But a lot of them do what's known as that master class. Have you seen advertisements for that?
For which master class?
Any of them.
If I could talk about it,
John Malkovich has done them. Jodie Foster has done them.
No. We can also another one to talk about. William H. Macy's done them.
Yes, and what an accomplished film, TV, and stage actor.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got all three.
Yep.
Okay. Well, a lot of them do that. I mean, they don't do what Gilliard did, is just totally leave the acting world and teach full time.
Yeah.
Teach is part of what when they're not doing shows or
right.
They'll do a 6-week course, as a master class, or an 8-week or whatever. But then they're going to be gone for 2 years, do some, shows and stuff. But a lot of actors that became big on television, I think, once their TV careers were either it didn't go anywhere, or they, after about 5-10 years, they were done, whatever. And then they probably enjoy that craft of acting enough to stick with it, but go into, like you said, the teaching profession.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing with Walker also, and I'll say this. The Walker of now with Jared Padalecki, the Walker of now, it is very much more. It has Mitch Pileggi. It has it's got quite a few actors. It is this Walker. I have seen the first couple of seasons, plus that I've watched through the thing. It is more of an actor's show. It's still action. He's still a badass, but everybody's more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very, very different to watch. I'm just saying this to be truthful. It's very different to watch, because every time I watch something like for instance, Chuck Norris being chained up, all the thing I could think about is, well, if you give him that much slack, he's going to kill you on your chain. It's like, and yet they just assaulted the Padalecki's Walker 6 ways from loose, even with that much slack. It's just it's an actor show.
I don't know why. I mean, I've seen Padalecki play some pretty damn badasses. He was on Supernatural.
It doesn't mean he
murdered the shit out of a demon.
Oh no, he is. He is a badass.
He's like your height. He's like 6'3" or 6'4".
Yeah. No, he is a badass. Do not get that wrong. I'm just saying this isn't Chuck Norris badass where it's like, well, okay, you keep him that much slack, he's going to use that chain and choke you out with it. This isn't that. He's legitimately in trouble. He's legitimately in trouble, and it's an actor's show.
Okay.
And it's like,
Cool.
and that's the thing in Chuck Norris's and in Chuck Norris's time and all their time. You know what I'm saying? In those types, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's got 8 years. It was a fun show for kids and grandmas, and in that time, you got 8 years. What's his prospects? We have to ask that. Chuck Norris can have all the prospects in the world. He probably could make his own movies. You know what I'm saying? Those were those times. He could get those. He had a name. But what's Clarence Gilliard's prospects? Maybe a couple of action movies. Maybe from the days. Oh, he was in Karate Kid, by the way. Karate Kid 2.
Well, first of all, he was a character actor. And
Yeah.
they either have a longevity career that lasts 50 years or they get tired of it because that's all they're going to do. They're only going to do supporting roles. Okay.
Right.
And there are many actors that were perfectly happy doing exactly that.
Sure.
Because they managed to balance commercials with TV spots, with stage plays, with, a film role, a supporting film role. And those people could do that, and they did it. And a lot of them have been perfectly happy doing it. They lived a good long life and retired and died when they were 90. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and the ones that didn't, either just, just the luck wasn't happening for them, or they themselves just kind of went, eh.
Well, and that's all I was bringing up with him was the fact that at a certain age, you have to wonder. Because he was, truthfully, as I was saying, it's like the show ended in 2001. Okay, so he died in 22. That's 21 years. He's 66. He'd be 45 years old.
Wow.
And he'd been 45 years old, and you had 8-year run on the show. You had an 8-year run on a very popular show, which is still huge in syndication all over the world. So you had that, but you have to wonder where your prospects are. What kind of movies you're going to get, whatever. Chuck has all the things he can do in the world. Chuck Norris is a monster name, always has been.
Yep.
But Clarence Gilliard Jr. is not, so you have to wonder. And see, if Clarence Gilliard Jr. was on this Walker, this version, he'd have all the ones in the world. There's real acting. Not just fighting, not just everything. I mean, a guy like Mitch Pileggi who can act. Yeah, who can absolutely act.
Certainly can.
What?
He certainly can.
Yeah. I mean, would it be a Mitch Pileggi? I mean, he absolutely can. You have all kinds of different, really good actors in there. And it's like, if he was in that, he'd have all the run in the world. When you're on an action show that's not a whole lot of depth, then you're going to wonder where your next shot is. Maybe you get a couple of straight to video at the time, straight to DVD. Maybe you get those, but then, or what you can do is you can teach people how to be, and you've had 20 years in the acting world. You can go teach people how to do it.
We have people in town doing it right now. Okay.
Yeah. Michael Cole.
Michael
Cole.
Absolutely. And he still gets cast.
Oh, he gets cast all the time.
I mean, there's people in the, that are teach at Drama Inc. Quite a few of them get cast pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert Prolgo is another one.
Oh, he's always cast.
Cast all the time.
Yeah.
And teaching is just, an adjunct thing. Yeah. But, and I think, bully for them, good for them. You find something to do that works for you where you can use your craft and skill. Okay. And then, impart to the younger, to other generations, what you know. Yeah. All right. Let's bring us to our last topic because we got 15 minutes left.
Yep.
And I got to bring this up. And this is just, this gets so many people so mad. But this is, I'm going to chime in with my 2 cents.
Right.
AI and royalties when it comes to using art images.
Right.
Even though now there is such a thing as fair use. Yeah. That is a clause in a copyright law that says if a piece of work is sampled, and by that it means it's used but completely changed significantly so as not to be confused with an original.
Yeah.
It's legal. It's
Mm-hmm.
protected. AI is a computer program. It's an algorithm whereby a person can use. I'm actually looking into this myself. I'm curious. I just want to see it. I want to see what it does.
Mm-hmm.
There are billions of images on the internet.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Billions.
Yep.
Okay. Everything from snapshots to animals to children to people to men to women
Memes.
to clothes.
Memes. Uses
Well,
memes.
memes are custom made things. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about images that people have uploaded.
Sure.
You can take a painting by a classical painter, say Caravaggio
Yeah.
or Jan van Eyck or Michelangelo, just pick somebody, Van Gogh. And people do this anyway, okay? They'll take it and they'll spoof it. They'll
Right.
turn it around, they'll make little joke images out of it and stuff like that, but they're selling it as a parody, as something else that is protected by copyright. This
Yep.
is a satire or a parody. But AI art is not attempting to satirize or parody it. It is being marketed as genuine art.
Yeah.
But they're taking other people's images. It has to. A computer cannot think abstract and come up with its own idea. It has to be programmed by a user.
How much of it do you think how much of it do you think is by design? I mean, they'll say that it's art theft, but by design to try to get the art out there.
It were designed to get the art out there that's use the original art.
Right. But I'm talking about, you think the people that tried to get the original art out there, they tried and they failed. So they're trying something else.
But AI artists are pushing themselves as artists.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, they're also human artists, okay? Like me, who draw and paint. I can take a photograph of a celebrity like Johnny Depp, okay? And then, but what I can do, because I can draw and I can take my own, this is what AI art does. Suppose you have a Johnny Depp's face on a picture that you like, and it's a certain look he's got. And you have a motorcycle jacket that he wore in some movie 20 years ago, and you like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a background that's a custom background that looks like a beautiful old crumbling building, okay? Instead of hand drawing all this, AI will take all those images and merge them together and make it look real.
Yeah.
So you have actually created something original from other things that have existed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that legit or isn't it? Well, if those images have been copyrighted, now you're getting sticky, okay? Because are they trying to sell it and promote it as a skill? This is my skill, or are you trying to push it out there and make money off of it?
Well, and that's what I ask. I'm just asking with this, okay? This is just truth what I'm asking. Are you, like you said, you're pushing? What about these? I mean, really, there are ones that we talk about art theft, okay? You got that on the second part of this.
Yes.
How much I'm just asking this question because you know this end of art better than I do, okay? I wanted to ask this. What part of it is theft and what part of it is they're not saying something and they've used AI and allowed their images without telling anybody to just get their art out there because they failed at the original way?
Well, I need to say something, and I also need to clarify art theft.
Yeah.
There's an old saying in the art world, misappropriate and modify.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Every artist on the planet from the beginning of time has done it. Everybody from the cave paintings who made little illustrations of oxes and horses and dogs running across the field to people, little people that, were doing things and represented activities and part of the culture.
Yeah.
But it's that one person taking their interpretation of it and making something out of something that didn't really exist before. They're creating something new.
Sure.
So art theft, it's not like you're claiming to be Claude Monet or selling a painting that's been ripped off of Claude Monet. Yeah. I think that's art theft. When
right.
You're pretending to be that artist, okay? And there's, fakes happen all the time. I don't think AI should necessarily be grouped into art theft. Okay. What it comes down to is copyrighted materials.
Yeah.
Okay. You're just taking copyrighted materials. And there's even some that get very, 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 very sticky about even someone who can draw and paint a picture that has been, a photograph in a magazine of a celebrity. But if you start doing things to it that are obviously make it clearly inspired by that photograph, not a duplicate of that photograph, then you're okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, now that's the now I'm just going to say though, do you think that anybody else, I'm just going to ask you based off of this and AI, now that we're getting into computerized world, remember how many people have failed at getting art out there, original, their own product?
98%.
Yeah. Do you think AI will help bring that percentage down at all?
Well, that's really hard to say because, like everything else with AI, it doesn't require the same skill set that drawing and painting does, or
Right.
composing music. When you start getting into the electronics, it's stuff that's already made. You're just taking pieces and putting together. Music sampling is the same way. Mozart sat down and wrote his scores out from music he heard in his head, from his Bach, same thing, Beethoven. They sat and wrote it out. Composers from at least even before the 1950s, even back in the jazz age, that improvisational thing, they were all coming out. It was coming out of their heads and their, or they might say their soul or their feeling or whatever. But nevertheless,
Yes.
they weren't sampling somebody else's work.
Right.
Okay. I admit, as a graphic designer, I've done that. You look at a design on a flyer, and I'm trying to make a flyer for work, but I only have a certain amount of time to do it.
Right.
Okay? You can take an idea that you see online and says, oh, I kind of like the way that looks. I'm going to sort of take that overall idea, but I'm going to rework it because I need to make something for my work. And then by the time it's out there, it won't even bear resemblance to the original.
Right.
So I think that's perfectly legit.
Okay.
I go to a museum and sit there and copy a painting. I'm still copying it, but it's not going to look exactly like that painting because I'm making it from scratch.
Everything you're talking about, remember what I've said to you about now that we've got electronic, now we got AI, now that we got all this now that people are trying. I was telling you this, that you really have a better chance at anybody else. I'm not kidding you. You have a wonderful chance of really getting out there with people because there's old school artists, old school art lovers
Oh, much.
out
Very
there.
much
They're going to hate this whole AI. They're going to hate all the technology. They're going to
so.
love,
You.
especially your drawings.
Well, I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I know that's a compliment, but you and I both know how much energy it takes. Even with AI, somebody still has to see it.
Yeah.
You're still putting it out there, regardless of whether you hand drew it, took a picture of it and posted it, or you take an AI image and post it.
Yeah.
It's still not, it just depends on how many followers you've got, how many people are liking it, the hashtag thing, all that nonsense. And I'm at a point of like, whatever.
Well, no, you're going to
my own art and I put it out there. And if you want to look at it, look at it. And if you don't,
the movies you're going to get. This is what I was saying. You're going to have a very underground fan base. You really will, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because the underground fan base is going to be right up your alley. The people that are up your alley, because there's a lot of stupid people out there.
Cult figures is what cult people is what you're trying to say, right?
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm totally down with it.
Oh no.
My favorite filmmakers in the world are cult. Tim Burton is cult. David Lynch is cult. Gus Van Sant, Lars von Trier.
Yeah. What do you think? But the thing, and that's what I'm saying. What do you like? I was saying to you before. What the Awakening? Crystal Locket. These things, we're going. There's gonna be things that, even though I'm not a big Comic Con and Dragon Con guy, guess where I'm going with you on this one.
Well, hey, let's just get the darn things done first, then we start talking about.
I'm just saying, talking it into existence. But no, but that's the thing. I have no question about that. That's where they're heading, and it's like good, because truthfully, it's like it can head, but there's so many different ways now you can get out there. There's so many things. I mean, you brought up another one. We talk about Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi and his brother Ted did all that stuff. You know, the Evil Dead movies. Bruce Campbell.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of, you can make a good living with that.
Hey, works for me.
Yeah. Oh, no question about
I
that.
love being a graphic designer and working full time and getting a nice steady paycheck and paying the bills on time and having enough to do things with. But, you know, being a filmmaker and actor, or mainly as I get older, filmmaker, you know, making my own product like that. That's what I want to do. Hitchcock is my number one. I grew up watching Hitchcock and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And the Indiana Jones, we talked about that before.
Yep.
You know, I sat there in the movie theater, you know, as a kid looking at Indiana Jones and the stuff and the, you know, growing up in the 80s and looking at all that stuff. And I'm just going, that's what I want to do.
Like, well, I'm saying, no, you also said it yourself that you would have been one of those girls in that classroom flirting with him.
Yeah, with words "love you" or
yeah, on the thing,
"kiss me" or whatever she said
right.
on the eyelids. Oh
yeah,
I've been like, oh.
yeah.
Well, dude, we're about done.
Yep.
All right, we're about to wrap it up.
This was a good show tonight.
Very good.
And actually,
we
it was
made
better
it
than last
all the way
week.
through.
And we did. And look at the top, even though it's not many yet. Look at the top left. We got a couple of knowledge, so it's a beginning.
Hey, thank you.
We started with 0.
Likes in the comments. Bring it.
We started with 0. We started with 0, and we're up to 2.
Hey, that's 2 more than we had.
No kidding. Hey, we can say where it built, but no, this was a good. I mean, even though the other show was really good too, you know, it's like
we just had issues.
Yeah, it's like we just had issues, but this one was even better. We got all the way through it, and we're gonna have some more great ones, and we have great topics. And now that we got people that are willing to watch, we're gonna have some more. We're gonna have some fun here.
Yes, and we're gonna bring guests on. That would be you, Chad Whitmire.
Yep,
we'll be in touch.
Absolutely, we got guests.
Thank you.
And absolutely, and here's the thing. This is the thing with this is, and for now that people are watching, I want to bring this into this before I go. I've got a show called Pundits Pundit. I've got about 5 others coming, you know, with everything like that with Inside Line Sports. This is an independent one with her. This is us. Now the Yin and Yang. Now the thing about every one of my shows, the whole thing about it is conversation. For people who have never seen us before, I'm just explaining this. I'm right of center. She's left of center. We have different point of views. I'm more of a traditional. I've kind of a traditional life. She's more artist. She's more artist, more underground. I'm gonna call it underground. She's more that world. I'm more. I could go to Wall Street a little bit and talk to people. You know, it's like our lives are different.
But you'd be surprised at some of those Wall Street execs. Okay,
I know what you mean, but
a lot of them have a secret life.
I know they do, but I'm just giving you an example of going to their little, you know, whatever, and I can just say that's all I meant. But I'm just giving an example. It's just that we have different worlds, we have different mindsets, but we have conversation, and we're not here to try to get chaos and fight. Oh. We're not here to do that. We're here to bring differing points of view and get everything, because we're in a world now where the whole world is chaos, where you get on Twitter or Facebook and everything, and you have to see everything is nothing. But I'll give you an example. TikTok, when you go to China, their kids are seeing science, math, everything educational. Our TikTok, we're seeing fights, chaos, arguments, screaming.
Well, and you're also seeing a lot of just BS. All right, those crap that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
No, you're right, and it's like it's just by design with China that is here. That is what this is. It's like, this is why I want a show like this. I love a show like ours and a show like Pundits Pundit, and it's why I love it. Is because conversation. We get more people, more generations to understand that. We can put an end to all this chaos little by little.
Well, or at least just start reducing it some.
Reducing it. We won't get it forever.
No,
we don't have enough time in life.
It never will.
No. We don't have enough time in life to ever do that. But we can reduce it. We can reduce it by getting more people talking.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about conversations like, I'm not talking about The View, The Spew. I'm not talking about them. Not talking about that. They fight all the time and get fake conservatives on there, and then they can all have echo chambers. Not talking about any of them. I'm talking about real conversation. Let's have a real thing. We're not going to try to go to war on each other. Everybody wants a war all the time. Why don't we start understanding each other? And that is what these shows are about. And I'm very happy to have her on. I'm very happy to have her as a partner into this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy to have you on board and happy to have you as a partner.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have fun with all this. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
We're going to do this. And with everybody, we got our own stuff we got to get. So you have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone. Next week, I am going to be traveling, so I'm not sure we're going to have a show. I'll be putting something out there on Facebook. We'll just see how it goes.
You betcha. Yep.
And if we don't have a show, all of you have a wonderful, very happy holiday season, and we'll be back when we're back.
You betcha. And you take care of yourselves.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.